retarded. Nobody's likable in that entire, not one likable character.
They needed
At
Scott
least
Grimes.
in the Littlest Reich, they had the guy that gets stabbed in the throat and he's dying. And you're like, it made me laugh because I'm like, this is completely asinine. This is all. Have you seen it? The Littlest Reich? Have you seen it?
The Puppet Master remake.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that dude gets stabbed in the throat and he's choking on his own blood. And then all of a sudden he has a conversation and he's totally fine and he's cracking wise. You know, at least that's funny. And then the girl jumps out and slams into the dumpsters. That shit's funny. But even though it's dumb and it makes no sense, this is awful. It's awful.
What would you give it on a Hypnoswirl rating?
-5.
Critters. What is it called?
The next binge.
The next binge gets a -5 from Jeff's Hypnoswirl.
Fuck off, Critters.
Who's cooler? Puppet Master, Littlest Reich, or New Critter season on Shudder?
Fucking Littlest Reich is better.
Littlest Reich is better than New Critters?
Yes.
You heard it here first, folks.
What's even more, you know how much I love the Critters franchise. You know how much I love it. No matter which one, I love them all. And this is awful. It's awful.
Okay, well, let's do the show that we're here to do. Episode 3, Midnight at the Monster Museum.
Midnight at the Monster Museum.
I'm Tom Devlin. This is Jeff. And we're about to hit it. So here's the thing. This week I had a really cool guest come in the museum while I was there on Sunday. Jacob the Carpetbagger. He's a YouTuber. He's not a horror personality. He's not a monster guy. But what he does, if anybody's not familiar, the Carpetbagger is an awesome YouTube show where he goes to kooky and weird roadside attractions. Jacob has been to the Monster Museum before. This is his second time. And he was actually here because he wanted to check out the museum, but he also wanted to see a couple other ventures that I have going. One being the dinosaur adventure here in Boulder City, which is a place where you can go and ride full-size dinosaurs, play in the cave system and dig for fossils. And he also wanted to see the place, the birth, the home of Zoltar, which little known fact is all Zoltar machines in the world come from here in Boulder City, and I actually work for Characters Unlimited, who makes them. I work for them on the side doing custom Zoltar, so I was able to bring Jacob up to meet Zoltar and the home birthplace of all fortune teller machines by Characters Unlimited, and that was awesome. The thing is with Jacob is, like I said, he travels the country doing these roadside attractions. He gets a lot of hits on his stuff that he does, like haunted houses, dark rides, walkthroughs. And so the Monster Museum, when he first came here, it blew up. We got like 100, I think we're up to 125,000.
Yeah, it hit harder than he expected.
So it's such an honor, and I was a big fan ahead of time, but now he's become, you know, a buddy of mine, and I got to sit down and have an interview with him and talk about what's what. So here's my interview with Jacob the Carpetbagger while he was here at the Monster Museum, and let's go. All right, so I'm here with Jacob the Carpetbagger. He is what I have just coined the term megatuber.
Megatuber.
He's a megatuber.
I'll take
He's
it.
a YouTube dude that 100% gets a following. People that are into what we're kind of into as far as roadside attractions go, like the Monster Museum, all the way to theme parks and just things of the weird. I mean, you've got videos on wrestling. You've got videos on, Comic-Con and things like that, all the way to Gatlinburg and the cool roadside gold that is.
Yeah.
So tell me, how did you get into this? And I know that you do a lot of traveling, but is there a particular genre of attraction that you look for?
Well, definitely, the classic roadside attractions, the kind are just not there anymore. Well, I wouldn't say they're not there anymore because there are new ones springing up. I almost feel like we're in the middle of a renaissance for roadside attractions. They seem to be coming back, if that's possible. But
I think it is possible, and one of the things is I feel like I'm on the forefront of something. I'm on my second roadside attraction right now, and the weird thing is so I watch videos like yours and Adam the Blues and a lot of travelers, even not just roadside guys, but also campers and stuff that would find museums and things to go to because they had nothing better to do. And that's what inspired me to build one. Like, as much as I'd love to be on the road like you, I think it's awesome. I don't really want to make the videos and edit the videos. So I just thought, hey, well,
I'll just make the attraction
I'll
from
make
the
the
ground up.
attraction. And to be honest, I've had great YouTubers come through, great travel people come through, and the people that don't make videos that just love roadside America, it's been incredible. So we are in a renaissance, and maybe, just maybe, I'm on that ground level of it, maybe a lot of people our generation are getting to the point where they remember going to Wiki-Wachi when they were a kid. Or they remember going to, I just remember going to like Movie Land Wax Museum when I was a little guy. And how important that was. So I just want to provide something like that. So with you feeling like you look more for the vintage feel of it, does it, when you go to a place like Meow Wolf, or the Monster Museum, or something that is more modern, or I shouldn't say modern as in it's more recent, and it's not classic Route 66. Does it excite you, or are you a purist where you have this?
Oh no,
like,
I'm not like. It doesn't have to be old, and I think to me it's really exciting to see the new stuff and see like the next step is things, and almost see like. Almost seeing kind of what I love almost pushed into the mainstream, I think is kind of cool.
It's funny because I'm a little bit of a snob when it comes to makeup effects and movies. My career, and even music and stuff I liked as a kid, like punk rock and certain elements. I always say that I hold on to that punk rock a little too much because, like I told these guys before, when I didn't watch The Walking Dead for 5 years into its run because I was so mad that it was popular to like zombies. I've loved zombies my whole life. I grew up that kid, that horror fan that was weird in school and the teachers didn't quite understand and that other kids made fun of. And now those kids are loving zombies.
And you're like, zombies belong to me.
So for me, it took a minute for me to get past like my own selfishness and to hear that you're open to all the new stuff and liking that it's becoming mainstream. I get this way with the Marvel movies too. I've loved comic books my whole life. And now to hear that my dad and my brother, they know who, they know who Thanos is, it bothers me. Because I'm like, Spider-Man's one thing, but the entire world knows who Thanos is? Or Loki? Like, there's a weird, I get a little bit of a chip on my shoulder. So I'm actively trying not to. Actively trying to be a fan because they're making a great product. But it's very cool to hear that you're open to it. And I think you're also on the ground level of something that we've discussed before a little bit. I think that the travel type show that you do is directed to a direct audience, which you can turn on the Travel Channel right now and they're going to go to Belize or they're going to do this or they're going to go see home shows or something, and I don't care. But if it was the Carpetbagger, I mean, that's something that I do care about. I do care about weird wax museums. I do care about Ripley's Anything. I do care about haunted attractions and dark rides. And from that, I think that you and a group of you guys have really, I mean, there are people that map their family vacations based off of your content.
Yeah, that's some of the things that really made doing what I do rewarding. For instance, in Gatlinburg, I ran into a Canadian couple. They noticed me on the street for my videos, and they stopped me, and they said, "We didn't know this place existed until we saw it in your videos, and we traveled all the way from Canada to see it because we saw it in your videos." To me, that's rewarding, because I like getting the word out. I like sharing these places, and I'd love for people to go see them for themselves.
Well, you made it to the Monsters Museum about 1.5 years ago. And I have had countless, I counted up until about 10, but I've had countless families come and say, we saw it on the Carpetbagger. And the first time I reached out to you, it wasn't for any reason other than I was a fan of your show, and I thought you'd like what I do. And then after I saw the exposure, I was like, now that's awesome.
Mm.
And for those of you who don't know, because this is a Monster Museum show, I also own a dinosaur attraction. But when I was in its infancy, I was trying to purchase another attraction called Bedrock City in Arizona, and I had no means to do so, and I had formulated this plan that I was going to have Jacob help me tell the world, and we were going to raise money, and it was going to be this thing. It fell through, and it didn't work out. And I did open that dinosaur attraction, but I can say, based on his videos and his content, I saw that as a smart business decision the second go around, after I saw what we did for the first time. So it was really, and I think it happens between YouTubers. I know you travel with other YouTubers, and I know that you show up in other YouTubers' videos once in a while. That networking obviously builds your fans find them, their fans find you, and it does that. I think that in local businesses that are doing what I'm doing, which is weird roadside stuff, if you seek out these YouTubers, they spread the word for you, and it benefits everybody. They get the views, we get the they get the content, we get the exposure, and it's,
I think a lot of people that own attractions are starting to really embrace that and understand. There's some holdouts. There's some holdouts of people that well, we don't want you filming here because if someone sees the video, they won't see a reason to come. Which I mean, I'm biased, obviously, but I don't feel there's a lot of people that are like, they see something like, well, that was cool, but now I never have to go see it.
Yeah, I honestly don't. As somebody who seeks out weird, the weirder it is, the stuff I can see, I want to go there more, and I want to go experience it. And it's no different than a commercial. It's not like a commercial or a movie trailer holds back any of the goods.
Well, you go see a movie, they show you the friggin' ending in the trailer.
And the beginning and the middle. And it's like you don't even have to go, but it's the experience. And when it comes to the darker, more let's say dark rides, haunted attractions, or Chamber of Horrors and wax museums and stuff, I know you're jumpy. I know I've seen your videos. You get scared easily. What do you do those attractions for the passion of it, or do you do it for the views?
I did not go into a haunted house until I was an adult because, and like, I explain to people, I know monsters aren't real. I know I'm not going to be murdered inside of a haunted house, but I just, the act of being startled is grained deep in me. So yeah, I wanted to do it because I felt like I was missing out on attraction. So, I forget the first one I filmed, but I filmed one, and of course I am screaming the entire time, I'm jumping, and people got a real kick out of it. So I almost feel forced into doing haunted attractions because people love seeing me terrified, and it's genuine. It's genuine. Every time someone jumps in my face, every time I'm sprayed with compressed air, a shock goes through my body.
As a creator of haunted attractions and as well as props and gags, that genuineness, I don't know about the rest of the viewers that watch your video that get a kick out of that, but for me it says, that works, this works, that's awesome. And it's great to see it. When I walk through a haunted house, I always try to be in the back of the line because I like to see the reaction to things. I also like to get a better look at what's going on, and I hate a guided tour of a haunted attraction, but I love the what we call the pickle theory, which there's a guy named Leonard Pickle, and he created the through line. Or maybe if he didn't create it, he harvested through line that you'll see at the big theme parks and a lot of the bigger attractions where it pushes 200,000 people through in a night. I love that because it allows me to pace myself.
Now, when I'm going through a haunted house, I'm playing defense. So I'm like, okay, that's there to distract me. Something else is coming from another direction.
Yeah, like we were talking about the red herring. That's exactly, and it's true. If you can figure out, so many of these trade shows you go to, they have big talks and things where you can learn.
Yeah.
The cool thing about a haunted attraction and being involved with them is it's regional. So somebody in Tulsa, Oklahoma is not necessarily ever going to visit a haunted attraction in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
So we could totally steal stuff from each other or borrow or sell because you're not going to see the same thing. It's not like a movie that gets traveled around. I think in the old days, in like carnivals and freak shows and stuff, they did the same thing because they would be in different territories.
Traded freaks.
Yeah. So they would sell off, members and stuff. And I always thought that was a weird little thing with the haunted attraction industry. But man, I can tell you, if you're trying to be original, it's a tough industry because it spreads like wildfire within the industry.
Yeah.
But as a manufacturer or somebody who creates, it's awesome to see the genuine reaction rather than, I'm afraid of this, I'm afraid of that. Blah, blah, blah. I don't need somebody bummed out in there. And if they're not scared, they should be laughing. They should be having fun. So it is awesome.
Some sort of engagement.
It's awesome to watch your videos too because you hold that camera so close in the attractions, in the haunts. You
cuddling it.
You look scared, and it captures a different, it's different than when you go through like a Ripley's. Like it's very different in your footage, and
I think the one thing that kind of drew me into haunted houses was I wanted to see the theming. I didn't want to be scared, but I wanted to see the sets and everything like that. So that kind of pulled me into it.
So recently you were at Transworld. You went to the Darkness.
Yes.
Did you do the Lights On tour?
Yes, I did the Lights On tour of the Darkness.
How was that?
The Darkness, I can't say. I can only go judge by what I've seen, but that was one of the most amazing haunted houses I've ever seen. They have more animatronics in it than any haunted house I've ever seen before.
So, Larry being in St. Louis, he has his finger on the market.
Yeah.
And
St. Louis is like a haunted house hotbed.
Yeah, it is. My two favorite haunts I've ever been to, if you've never been, you should get there. In Ohio, the Dent Schoolhouse. Incredible. The Dent Schoolhouse is awesome. And Statesville Prison of the Dead right outside Chicago. Okay. It's in Chicago, but like a suburb. But Statesville and the Dent Schoolhouse,
good.
They're just the theming. It's all about the theming. It feels like you're walking through a movie. And these are two independent haunts on the caliber of Universal Horror Nights.
Really?
Like, it's really well done. Because when you go to a Universal Horror Nights, it's not like a haunted attraction. It's like walking through a movie. It's a different experience. When you go to a haunted house that's out in the middle of the sticks, and then it feels like that, you do feel like you're in the movie.
Yeah,
It's cool. And then locally here in Vegas, we have some really good ones. There's a thing called Freakling Brothers. It's a trailer haunt, but they do it really, really well. And there's going to be a new one this year that I think is going to be pretty cool.
Sweet.
But so, of all the haunted attractions, dark rides, or Chamber of Horrors, what stands out to you as your favorite location you've been to that you think?
Oh wow.
Well, let's not say favorite because it's too hard, but like the spookiest, creepiest. Like what actually genuinely you left feeling like I'm terrified right now?
Now, this might be a different answer, but there is an old school attraction, and it's a year-round haunted house in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, called Mysterious Mansion.
Oh yeah.
And it's actually not a lot of it is set dress. Not a lot of it sets. They use darkness. The actors do weird things. Like there's one place where the guy literally like jumps over your head and lands like 10 feet. Like it doesn't even seem like it's a trick. It seems like he's just jumping 10 feet onto a wooden floor. Like jumps over your head. Just different stuff like that. And they use a lot of darkness, a lot of disorientation, and a lot of times, I mean, I originally got interested in haunted houses because of the sets, but sometimes the darker the haunted house is, the scarier it is because, like they say, your brain fills in the blanks.
Yeah. Did you have you been to Niagara Falls?
I have. I've not done
the Canadian side.
I've not done the haunted house. What was it?
There's tons.
There's tons of them.
Yeah. So there's Screamers 2, House of Frankenstein, Castle Dracula. They're old school. Like it feels like you're plucked out of the '60s.
Really?
It's pretty awesome. There's also a serial killer wax museum there that is just unnerving.
That unfortunately is gone.
Oh no.
I was very bummed.
Wow, that's a bum. I'm glad I got to go before it's gone because that was.
Yeah, when
they had a Lizzie Borden that looked like Zelda from Pet Sematary.
That was the reason I wanted to go to Niagara Falls when I found out about that wax museum. And then by the time I finally got to Niagara Falls, it was gone.
Man, I just love, I don't know if it's Niagara Falls Boulevard or what, but it feels like Hollywood Boulevard, but just haunted houses and wax museums. And I went in 2005 when we were making Poultrygeist for Troma, and we shot in Buffalo, so on the weekend we all went, but that was an incredible, like, in the middle of August, just going through haunted house after haunted house.
Yes.
It was awesome. What region is your favorite when it comes to traveling? You've been out west, you do the South, you've been in the Midwest. And you grew up in the Midwest.
Yes.
What's what's your favorite region when you're out there?
Just in general in the country.
In general, like your favorite roads to drive, hotels to stay at. Or
well, I always kind of started out with the Southeast. That was kind of my thing to begin with, and it's still there's something about the American South that's just inherently amazing. So yeah, definitely love just traveling around the South. I love the whole country. I love everywhere in the country,
cool.
but the South will always be special to me.
Do you think, now I'm not super well versed worldwide,
Yeah.
but are there this type of entertainment outside of America? Like, other than Canada, I mean, is there places to go where you can find the largest ball of twine or like a pink buffalo or
It
something?
seems to be an American thing. It does seem like there is, like you could find them in other parts of the country, but I think it's almost like an homage to our culture. I think it is part of American culture. When you do see it other places, it's inspired by what we have over here.
66 or something of that nature.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Jumping back to the monstery stuff, you've been through the Monster Museum.
Yes.
Is there any other place in the country that stands out to you similar?
Similar to the Monster Museum. I mean, it's definitely like an old chamber of horrors, like from like a classic wax museum, which they're actually getting rid of in most wax museums.
Wow, really?
Yeah, the new Madame
I feel like that's like the attraction at a wax
The
museum.
new Madame Tussauds don't have chambers of horrors, and the one in London got rid of their chamber of horrors.
Wow.
The original, yeah. So yeah, keep that alive. Don't
Yeah. I'll never let it go. I mean, that to me, when I go to a wax museum, I just want to beeline it to that old castle.
Yeah.
Whatever it was. But that's cool. I find myself with building this place, I don't get out to a lot of them anymore. I'm more busy running it than I am enjoying them. So I do enjoy vicariously through your videos. I think that I'm always trying to find, the next family vacation. And I've definitely routed entire Gatlinburg trip based on your videos.
Appreciate it.
I've never been, and also Indiana Beach is on my list of.
Oh yeah, Indiana Beach. That is like.
That's something
That's one of those travel back in time amusement parks.
Yeah, and
Oh, they have amazing haunted house there.
I watched your video, and when I watched that video, I think Indiana Beach is my favorite theme park I've never been to. It's everything I want. If I could build Boulder City, blah 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 blah, it would be Indiana Beach here at Lake Mead in Boulder City.
It's amazing.
And I think that would be awesome because I see that and it looks like the greatest place on earth. But cool. Well, thank you so much for coming out. And just because you're here on a horror podcast, do you have a favorite horror movie or character?
Favorite horror movie or character? I've only this is interesting, but I've only in the last couple of years really started getting into horror movies as an adult. I never watched them as a kid growing up, and I love I know not everyone loves these, but found footage. I love found footage stuff.
I did a really weird found footage movie years ago. I helped out on it called the Poughkeepsie Tapes.
Okay, I've not heard that.
And it's tough to find. The trailer played before Alien vs. Predator in the theaters.
Nice.
But then they never theatrically released it because the director got hired to do, I think, the Wreck movie, which was a remake of a Spanish found footage film. And so they didn't want to compete with themselves. So it ended up on Blu-ray last year. But
one that I saw, I think last Halloween season, where I watched a lot of horror movies, was a movie called Creep.
Okay.
It was a found footage. Have you seen that? That's a good one. That's a different type of movie.
Yeah. Very cool. Okay. Well, and the found footage works for you because you're walking around with a video camera.
Maybe that's why it's real to me.
Maybe someday we'll find your camera and then be like,
there has been times where I'm I feel like I'm making a found footage documentary as I speak.
Some of those abandoned places.
It's I die. This is going to be part of a movie.
Well, that's awesome. Well, thank you for coming on, and thanks for being here and spreading the word about the Monster Museum, because that's all we can ask.
My pleasure.
Awesome. Okay, that one's in the bag, and that was Jacob the Carpetbagger. He's awesome. Check him out on YouTube. He has a great, he does Instagram, Facebook, all that. If you just look up Jacob the Carpetbagger, you will find it. They're on an awesome trip right now, going across country, him and John. And follow them, add them, like them, share them. You'll love what you see. So here is our flashback feature.
Where's Phoebe? I had to send her home. I found her doing things with the boys last night that she had no business doing. I know the rest of you are nice young ladies and you won't get into any trouble. Let this be a lesson to you. Say no to drugs. Camp Rolling Hills is the best. Oh, I'm a happy camper. I love the summer sun. I love the trees and forests. I'm always having fun. I don't like being the wicked witch of the West. Hey. But I know what happens when things get out of control. You're gonna tell. Oh, I'm a happy camper. I love the clear the sky. Good night, campers.
Sleepaway Camp 2.
Sleepaway Camp 2.
Part
Unhappy Campers. What do you think, Jeff?
Uh,
are you a fan of Sleepaway Camp 2, first of all?
Honestly, it had been maybe 20 years since I've seen that movie, and it was almost like, it was so funny because you were talking about how you wanted to go to movies that I hadn't seen in a while, and for some reason you've been able to pluck these ones that I haven't seen forever for some strange reason, despite my catalog of movies.
You know, as a kid and as an adult, I've always had that little bit of punk rock roots where I like the off the cuff. You know, I was always the GoBot to the Transformer a little bit. You know, I like the off the cuff, off the cuff kind of lesser known. You know, my friends were into Ninja Turtles, which I liked, but I was into Toxic Crusaders because that was like the dirtier version. You know, and
that's the same company though.
Playmates was the same, yeah, but I mean, just a lesser known, lesser publicized. It was always that thing that I could bring to the table. You know, if we were having a sleepover party and everybody's got Freddy and Jason, I want to show up with the Maniac Cop. I always wanted something that was just a little bit like, oh, you never saw this. And as a kid, I had like a regiment that if you spent the night at my house, an initiation to like being the cool kid in my room of my nerd quarters was to make it through Sleepaway Camp Part 1. It was a huge film for me, and to have my friends make it through, either at the end of the night they either thought I was way messed up or they thought the movie was god awful. It would kind of determine who I could weed out as friends or not. And the thing is I actually I love Sleepaway Camp with all of my heart, but Sleepaway Camp 2, you look like you got something to say.
Well, yeah, I think it's funny because, like, despite the fact that it's a classic, much like, I will say, it's not to the exact same degree, but much like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, so too is Sleepaway Camp 2 to Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
Yeah, it definitely
absolute shift in tone, and
it's rock and roll, and it's crazy, and it's got humor where there's no real humor in Sleepaway Camp.
Not
it's
at all.
dark.
And
Sleepaway Camp 2 is dirty, grimy, but also hysterical and campy and 80s gold.
Well, that's like, lots of boobs, lots of great kills, 80s slasher flick to the T, and all you gotta do is look at TC's power mullet.
Yeah.
Power mullet.
That power mullet is awesome. And I'll tell you what, so I saw Sleepaway Camp 2 for the first time ever at Mike Fisher's house in 6th grade. We watched my two favorite slasher films to this day. We watched back-to-back double feature. We watched Sleepaway Camp 2 and Friday the 13th Part 4. And I'll never forget it. That was maybe one of the greatest sleepover parties I ever had. It was just me and him and his little brother. But to watch Sleepaway Camp 2, I was not allowed to watch rated R movies in my house. And there are so many tits in that movie. Allie, right in the opening scene when Allie's pulling her shirt up, and it's like, oh my God. I mean, as a sixth grader.
They're genuine and they're nice ones.
It was perfect. And not only that, the effects are over the top and crazy.
You see, my favorite line in that movie is after she has sex with the guy. After they've had sex. Totally said that. And then you don't have AIDS, do you? No. Well, I'll just take his word for it now that it's already too late.
Yeah.
But...
I mean, that was the 80s.
Right.
That's the 80s. And I'll tell you what, it was she's gonna die either way. It didn't matter.
No, yeah.
But the thing is, so Sleepaway Camp 2 picks up. They remove Felissa Rose as Angela, and although she wanted the part.
Well, that's the thing. Is like, do you know who took her place?
It's Pamela Springsteen.
Bruce Springsteen's.
Springsteen's little sister. Yeah.
And that was the second. Like she did that, and back to back, she did part 3 right after that, and then she did one of the movie, and then she quit acting, and then she went to still photography.
The crazy thing is, she's very hard to like just this year she started possibly entertaining, doing convention circuits and stuff.
Oh, yeah?
But the thing is, so Felissa, who's a good friend of mine, a lot of people think that Felissa was replaced, but she wasn't actually
No, she read
replaced.
for the part.
She read for the part. She was offered the part, and she chose to go to NYU instead and follow her.
Well, the thing is I actually think kind of works to the advantages of the movie, because since her name's Angela, but since the name's changed and they start out with the campfire story of did this really happen? Now you're not sure if it's living in the same universe and this actually is a continuation and this is the actual
and they
Angela.
changed Camp Arawak to Camp Rolling Hills,
or if it's like maybe she's a copycat, or you're not sure if it's the actual same character or not, and I think it plays to it, especially with the change in tone,
right? It is it's definitely, man, the cover of that movie had a girl with the backpack and it had Freddy glove, the Jason mask, and it was awesome. Like that. So I can say it's clear, it is easily one of my favorite slasher films, definitely one of my favorites from the 80s. I love when Allie goes into that so Allie, the blonde character.
Hang on, I want to cut you off though real quick, because I do want to talk about that, absolutely. But I don't know if you noticed. Did you notice all the names of the characters in that movie?
Yeah.
All the names of the characters are based on the Brat Pack.
Of course.
Okay.
But the crazy thing is, so you have both Charlie and Emilio in there. But also, their sister is Renee. Yeah, she's in
Molly.
Yeah, she's in the movie. Yeah. And so
Renee Estevez.
Renee Estevez, who's definitely related to some of the jokes in the movie.
Yeah, but I mean, you got Sean Penn. Well, it's not actually Penn. The last names are
right.
Yeah, Sean Penn, Ali Sheedy, Mare Winningham, Denny Moore, Leah Thompson, Anthony Michael Hall, Judd Nelson. Charlie and Amelia we talked about, Diane Lane, Phoebe Cates. There's a few other ones in there too.
No, they're all in there. Yeah. And that's what I love. As a kid, I didn't notice it. I didn't recognize it. But as I got older, that totally set in. And also how they play on the 3 different slasher parts with Freddy, Jason, and Leatherface, and and the battery acid to the face, and the silliness that is. But it's awesome,
Yeah, well, we talked about the black comedy. I think it's hilarious. You got Brooke and Jody, the 2 sisters, are boozing up in the woods and smoking weed and stuff, and then Angela comes along, and Jody's passed out, and Brooke, I think it's Brooke, is having sex with the guy and stuff, and so Angela chases off the guy, and then she ends up taking Brooke. Brooke wakes up, she's on a grill. She couldn't have been out there that long, but when Brooke wakes up, Jody is beyond charge. She's a skeleton. She's a black skeleton.
Well, a little bit of gas could.
No,
I mean that.
It's a skeleton, man. Black comedy. She's a black skeleton. Yeah, but then she lights her on fire, and that's where I think the first real moment of true black comedy comes into play, and it works. It works for the movie because I mean everything ends up being like that.
Yeah. And the cool thing is between the humor, there's also classic moments in slasher films where obviously you have sex, you die. Obviously you do drugs, you die. But when you find the cabin filled with strewn bodies of left for dead,
But I know that I always ask you what your favorite scene is, but I'm watching that movie and there's so many. That's what ended up happening is
let's turn this on its ear. What's your favorite death?
My favorite death was it is the Alley one.
Oh, Allie's death is by far my favorite death, and I talk about it all the time.
The stick. You hear gargling sounds even when her head's coming up.
So, That's so squishy. So if you haven't seen it,
all over her face and
we
shit.
spoil the heck out of these movies because they're over 30 years old, so
Yeah.
it's fine.
If you haven't seen it,
but Allie,
too
who's
bad.
this bleach blonde beauty of a lady, gets stabbed in the back first, and then thrown into a porta potty outhouse, like an old wooden outhouse. Goes through the toilet hole head first, straight down, and then comes back
And the
up.
hole's only like, it's only like about a foot wide.
She gets in there. I don't know how it gets past her chest, but it made it past. And she gets down there, does a full rotation under the supposed poop. Full rotation, comes straight back out of the toilet, covered with leeches in seconds.
Yeah.
Those leeches jumped on her like freaking fleas on a dog.
But
It
and
was so
Angela
quick.
said it too, that that
Yeah.
something about it getting leeches on her.
There's leeches, there's poop, and she's just holding her
Well,
down with a stick.
I think it's hilarious too that when you see her dead body later on, she has just like a dozen leeches on her face.
Yeah.
There's only one when she's actually in the, but when later on when her dead body's there, there's all these
Well,
leeches all
and then
over
you
her
gotta
face.
imagine Angela fished her out of the
Right.
shithole to put her on display with the others. It's crazy. But I guess she had a potty mouth or something like that.
Boo.
That's my favorite death of the movie, though. Easy.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, I think we should just talk about some of the scenes because, I mean, just to give people a true, you got Anthony and Judd are in the woods, and they're gonna play the joke on. They're gonna try and scare Angela.
Yeah.
Anthony's dressed up as Freddy, who has somehow misplaced his glove, and he can't find the
Yeah.
glove. You end up finding out that Angela somehow got it, but he's misplaced his glove. You got Judd, who's dressed up as Jason, and Judd decided to go walk off. He watches, he sees where Judd walks off, but as he's looking for his glove, all of a sudden the glove's laying on the log, and Angela's wearing. You don't see her; you just see her arm laying there.
Well, she's
And-
sneaky.
Well, yeah, no, she's very sneaky.
Very
I'm
sneaky.
gonna touch on that one. But all of a sudden, he thinks it's Judd for some strange reason, even though he watched where Judd went. Well, she slices his throat, and he takes the longest death gargle ever, looking at this guy going. And so when Judd comes back, he, for some reason, even though Angela is now dressed up as Leatherface and has
With the face.
yeah,
With a real
with,
face.
with the real face and this chainsaw. Where he thinks Anthony got this costume and this chainsaw, I don't know, but he's
They had lots of costumes.
right? But then he postures up to him and he takes a fencing stance with his machete. Against Angela, and Angela just whacks that out of his hand. And all of a sudden he's like, "What the fuck, man? What are you doing?" And only after she slashes his leg does he realize, well, that's not Anthony.
Well, that's I mean, they're at summer camp, so they're kind of stupid,
Yeah.
and they're much,
Well, everybody's buying the fact that all these counselors going home that she's murdering.
Well,
them.
she just
Is it-
she sent them home. They were being immoral.
No, and I think it's funny is the uncle was it John?
Uncle John.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Uncle John. His name's escaping me, but yeah, he was in Puppet Master 3. Yeah, he played the general in Puppet Master 3.
The Nazi guy.
Yeah,
Oh wow, I never connected that till right now.
yeah.
That's crazy.
Right. And
That's cool.
He also played.
I like that.
He played General Gogol in 6 Bond films
Okay.
across 2 different Bonds.
Okay.
But and he was also in Freddy Nightmare and Tales from the Crypt. But I think it's hilarious that
I can't believe he's that general from. He's totally that dude from Puppet
Yeah.
Master 3.
General Mueller.
Yeah.
General
Yeah.
Mueller.
Shot on the Universal backlot. I can see the image right now. Wow.
But I think it's funny though because she goes from Counselor of the Week to all of a sudden it's just
They fire her.
they fire her.
Yeah.
No, but I think it's funny they fire her after there's only like one more counselor left.
Yeah.
One more woman
And there's nobody watching any of these kids.
And you're fired. No, but we talked about Allie. I think it's funny though after they fire her, they end up going
Molly and that other.
Molly and Sean.
Yeah, they feel really bad
They
for
feel
her.
really bad, so
Yeah.
they go to see her, and and then Molly's and she's like, "Oh yeah, well I remember a kid did that, you know what I mean?" And she's like, "Oh, what'd you do?" And he's like, "I drowned him." So she just admits to killing the guy back in the day, and she's like, "What?" And then all of a sudden, Sean goes walking into the cabin, which they're 5 feet away from where all the dead bodies are, and she panics, even though she just confessed to murdering somebody. Goes in there, clubs him just continuously with this stick, and then Molly comes in the middle of club. She's clubbing Sean, and Molly comes in as she's coming. There's dead bodies all around her. It must stink as all high heaven.
Oh, it's Allie came out of a shitter.
Yeah, right? And Molly's just like, what's going on? And she grabs her and looks right at her.
You guys, what are you doing in here?
And then she ties her up. And when she ends up, I think it's one of the best decapitation scenes I've ever seen in a slasher.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's a great one. But then she ends up tying Molly up, who the loops on her hand, she could just totally slip it out, but she's struggling. But I found it comical because then she clubs Angela over the back with the same stick, and she gets this huge head start with her. She's got the knife that Angela had too. She gets this huge head start. Angela gets up and somehow magically, like slashers do, poof, appears right like ahead of her. Appears ahead of her, hiding behind a tree, and then she sneaks up on her, jumps out, and then for whatever reason, Molly don't want to use the knife. So she tackles Molly. Angela reaches over and grabs the knife and cuts her own hand with the knife. And Molly still won't use the knife on her. She falls about 4 feet, and then Angela believes she's dead. And the reason why I'm building this up, because I think it's phenomenal. She leaves Molly for dead. She goes back. Finally, she kills Charlie and Emilio. You don't see it, but they're dead.
I like that you're building this up, much like the movie builds it up.
They're dead, and then she has killed John, and then I can't remember who else was hanging there. But the scene, I never realized it. The movie Summer School.
Oh yeah, of course.
Clearly derived that faux murder scene.
Oh yeah.
From the person hanging, the chopped off hand.
Yeah,
and she had cut off the girl's tongue earlier in the movie too. All those kills were
saber-tooth bunnies.
Yeah, because I remember before I fell in love with horror movies. I mean, I watch them every once in a while. I actually fell in love with Summer School, and that is actually the root of where I ended up falling in love with horror movies.
Man, the book report they do on Rick Baker.
Yeah, very.
That was great.
Yes.
No, I love Summer School. I was always a big, huge fan of it, but I thought it fit right in there in that 80s schlock and also had awesome blood effects and craziness in it.
The one other scene that I just absolutely adored in that is Demi. She comes in and she has figured out that these counselors that have supposedly left have not arrived home or not gone to where they're supposed to go. So she's telling Angela, and Angela's like, okay, well, I got to dispose of Demi now because she's on me, even though she's not pointing fingers at Angela. And so she gets up calmly and she starts picking up random items that she's clearly
thinking about.
But she picks up like a pen. And she picks up the boombox and she holds it over her head, acting like, "Can I use this?" Actually, kind of reminded me of Bruce Willis in the pawn shop in Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
But then she picks up a brush. She's just like, she's gonna kill her with a brush, and then. Demi's like, she hears a noise and she's like, "Oh yeah, all right." And she's like, "Oh, I'm just fixing my guitar," which ironically she ends up tearing off one of her guitar strings and chokes her, which I found very hilarious because as cool and as well done as some of the kills are, I found that very, I think, deliberately weak.
Yeah. Because
it's like she's clearly not strangling her, and there's just this line painted across her neck, and as graphic as some of the stuff is, it was so I think deliberately watered down.
Yeah, it was one of those things. Probably, I'm just guessing, but in the effects guys' eyes, they were probably like, "Well, this isn't an important one, so we'll just throw some paint on the end of the string and we'll throw it on her neck and it'll leave the mark and she's done."
Well, I mean, even after you see her dead body later on,
it's just a line.
Yeah. And I thought it was fantastic because I think it really played up to
it gives that roller coaster of the high, low. Yeah. No, I think that the overall campiness of that camp movie is some of the greatest aspects to it. You know, it definitely homages just about anything you could, and I think it came out in 1988, 87, 88.
I think it was 88.
88.
And then 3 came out in 89.
89.
They filmed them back to back in like 6 weeks.
They even started a part 4 after it, but it never got finished. And then I have seen the unfinished footage of it. But then years and years and years later, they did a Return to Sleepaway Camp with
who was
Rose.
Angela?
Felissa Rose was in part 4.
No,
the original one was Pamela Springsteen.
That's okay.
It was back to back to back to back.
Okay.
But they only have a little bit of footage of it. It was in the first Survival Kit box set that came out in like 2004.
I did see the one with Felissa where she came back. I liked that one.
I loved it. I loved it.
Was great.
There's some awesome stories about that movie that I've heard that we'll save for another time. But yeah, I'm a huge fan of the Sleepaway Camp franchise. But Part 2 as a standalone film for me, whenever anybody says what's your favorite slasher film, I say Friday the 13th Part 4 and Sleepaway Camp 2. I skip the big ones like Halloween. I skip Sleepaway Camp 1, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, because I hold those at a different level. But when it comes to a campy 80s movie, definitely Sleepaway
Well, first
Camp 2.
episode you said that we like wrestling and everything like that. Quick little info tidbit.
Yeah.
Do you know who else holds that in such high regard? It's their favorite slasher. At least that's what they say.
There's a wrestler that this is their favorite.
One of my favorite wrestlers.
One of your favorite wrestlers. I got 2 that I'll pick. I'm gonna say Chris Jericho or Zack Ryder.
It is Chris Jericho.
It is Chris Jericho.
It is.
Oh, that's awesome.
Right?
You know what? Jericho has an awesome taste in movies, though.
Jericho's awesome, period.
Jericho loves Friday the 13th Part 4 as well.
The thing is we're not going to go deep dive into this. You've been a little critical
Tom and Jeff, baby.
of Chris Jericho's wrestling career, but you've been critical of later Chris Jericho's WWE wrestling career.
Right.
You need to watch some of his Japanese stuff lately.
He's done crazy, awesome things in Japan.
I mean, even lately in Japan, he's still capable of putting on a 5-star.
That being said, I love Chris Jericho, and I love that he's an ambassador for the sport,
Absolutely.
and I love that he loves horror movies.
He's punk rock.
That's a thing, and I'm into Chris Jericho. I just don't always love his persona played on TV or his music.
I blame that on WWE.
Yeah. Well, okay. No. I'll take that. So out of Hypno Swirls, how many do you give Sleepaway Camp 2?
It's so tough. Because I will not break I will not break the system yet. I won't do it. I'll just go 4.5 again because I need somewhere to go with it before I break the system. And
I give it a straight 5.
So it's less than Silver Bullet.
It's less than Silver Bullet,
really?
But it's as high as
personal. It's not as personal to you.
It's hard for me because if I give every single one a 22.5 million.
So now you understand why I
bought. But here's
breaking the system to start out with.
But here's the thing.
You know where to go.
Sleepaway Camp 2 is the top of the bar for me. But if I was going to press past the bar, it would have to be Sleepaway Camp 1. That's the hard part. If it wasn't a Sleepaway Camp movie, if it was just called Unhappy Campers, I'd probably give it a 7 or a 9. But the fact that it's part of the Sleepaway Camp brand, the first one to me is scripture. It's part of my love of horror.
That's why I appreciate it, because they took it in a different direction.
It's so different, but I love it. But I'm a completist. Like I can't just have one. So I look at it as a whole still, and to me it would have to be. If I was doing the series, it would be 1, 2, 4, 3.
In reflection, they broke the mold. They could have shot themselves in the foot, especially with somebody that reveres the first movie as much as you do.
Well,
and you ended up having love for it.
Here's the thing.
That it changed things.
I think a lot of real deal slasher film fans in the 80s, I think thought this movie was trash.
Oh, yeah,
I think this movie was canned on or talked about. But I was so young then, and it was so awesome. It's a lot like The Toxic Avenger to me. I mean, it's just crazy and over the top, and I love the cartooniness of it. But the first one is one of the first really original twist ending. Nobody saw it coming.
I think it's. I
And
think
the
it's
John
a better.
Waters-
I think it's a better horror movie. The first one.
Yeah, the first one's a better
But
horror
I'm more
movie.
entertained by the sequel.
I've seen part 2 probably 700,000 times more because it is an easy one to put on at a party. It's an easy one to throw on and
I
get
love
people
throwback
laughing.
shit too. You know,
And
especially,
I like the campiness. I love how silly it is and stupid.
Well, it was nostalgic before nostalgia really existed.
It was. It, like during. I mean, you watch it now and you're like, oh, they're making fun of Freddy and Jason. Those movies were current at the time. They were still coming out. So it was, I don't know, man. I love it. I'm going to put it at a 5 because that's where it is. And I will tell you that the other ones that I've gone way above and beyond on, that's because those movies mean that much to me. I mean, this means a lot to me too. But if it was if it was something different, it might be a little higher.
See, if I were in your position, Allie's boobs alone would demand to go over 5.
Well, we're sitting at a 5 Hypno Swirls on Sleepaway Camp 2, and I'll buy that for $1.
Good reference.
All right. So moving on, there's some more modern stuff. It's a throwback / modern that we're gonna
And
speak
we've both
about.
seen it.
And I actually went to the movie theater the other day. It was a 1313 Effects guy, Robert Kern's birthday, and I went with him because he asked me to, and I had no intention on seeing this movie. But
I did not know that.
None. I had none. But somebody tells me to come out to their birthday, I'm going to show up, and I went, and
You were pleasantly surprised, huh?
I was 100% pleasantly surprised. It was we went to see Pet Sematary, the new one, and let me tell you, like I said, I saw the trailer, which I don't normally watch trailers, and when I saw that trailer, I said, no interest
Yeah, well, that's the
whatsoever.
funny thing is I actually was looking forward to, especially since I did actually know a few little things they were tweaking it, and I was more surprised even when I saw it, but I wanted to see it, and at least for me, wanting to see it, like first half of the movie, it was okay.
Yeah, I was in and out. The first half of the movie, I was like, it felt like they just recasted it.
It was like they couldn't decide whether they were going to reboot or
looked
or
just
remake
like Gage,
Jamie said that.
and I was just like, wow, man.
I think they deliberately did that.
I
though.
hated the road,
I think
like
they
the road
deliberately
in
did
front
that,
of the
though.
house. I was like,
we're spoiling this too.
that's fine, yeah.
I think that's what I'm saying. I think they deliberately cast somebody that looked like Gage.
I think so.
For the twist.
It's a red herring. Yeah.
For the twist. Yeah,
and
exactly.
that the thing is I was watching the whole time and I was I hit probably the 20, 30 minute mark and I was like, I've seen this movie.
Yeah.
Why am I sitting here? Because not only have I seen this movie, I've seen this movie with Fred Gwynn. I've seen this movie with, that 80s charm and that,
Tasha Yar from Next Generation.
Yeah. I
Denise
mean,
Crosby, another name.
I love the original Pet Sematary, and this movie, I love John Lithgow, but I didn't care that John.
I did, but the thing that bothered me up to that point was, and actually this is my one major complaint about the movie, is I didn't buy the relationship being as close.
No, they didn't even seem like
they
friends.
barely hung out, and they did a good job of building that up in the last movie.
The thing is
I liked his character
with Lithgow. I felt like he was too much of a curmudgeon-y like hermit and less of a prominent community member.
I'm gonna criticize this, and I actually love the movie, so I'll throw out the criticism first. Is I thought it was hilarious because 1 minute he's can't go up there, and then all of a sudden, oh, you love your daughter, huh? Yeah, let's
go.
Let's bring the fucking cat
Let's
up there.
all go up there.
Even though it's cursed and it's bad idea. And the whole time I'm looking at Jane, I was like, why are they going? Why is he doing this?
I
What is
also
he doing?
I really didn't love the cat. Like I love the cat in the original. That like smoky gray.
I did
like the cat
quite
that
a
you
bit.
felt like you could just. I don't know.
I've seen that cat before. I've seen that cat, and that's a good thing. I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen that cat before. Has that cat been in my neighborhood? Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that was a good thing. Is that I related it, but I liked what they did with the character of the cat this time
I
around.
don't know, man. I wasn't quite sold on it until when everything changed. It got me thinking. And if we're gonna blurt it out, we're gonna blurt it
yeah.
out. So
Gage does not die.
Gage does not die. I was super bummed that we don't see that little shoe flying through the air, which is weird that I'm bummed because I've already seen the shoe fly through the air.
What pissed me off about that one, that semi truck plows into that kid. That kid will be liquidated.
Yeah.
And he barely has a mark on him in that movie. I love that movie, don't get me wrong.
I get it.
But
Maybe he didn't get plowed into so hard. Well, right
what I understand is he was intended to have prosthetics, but they couldn't get him to sit still to get it done. But still, he would have been liquid. And,
well, I felt like when it all changed and the sister gets it instead.
Yeah.
At that point, I was like, okay, I've never seen this movie, so it's within the realm of Pet Sematary, but it's completely different. And watching it, it almost became to me. I started comparing it to Stir of Echoes. And being that Kevin Bacon's there doing his thing when the mom's gone, the wife's gone, and he says, he's crazy. And I felt that way with the dad and the little girl.
I absolutely loved it because I know, I haven't read the book, but I knew that in the book, when Gage dies, he has a character.
So
he has a personality.
That's what I was wondering, because I've never read the book.
And
so Gage,
when he's talking,
Gage dies in the book.
Yeah, he dies in the book, and he's talking mad shit to his like, fucking cunt this, and
wow.
Yeah, and so it's very jarring, and that's the whole point, but they can't, pulling that out of a child is, do you want to actually do that in real life? And even if you can,
right.
And so that's why I loved the shifting of the older child. First of all, it's easier to get a better performance. Plus, it's turning on its ear from what we
It did.
think.
It turned it on its ear.
Oh my god, though, I'm sorry. Could not stop laughing with the eyeball, man. The eyeball. He's got the lazy eye. And then the dad is just, will you lay next to me? And the look on his face. He's got the lazy eye. And he just doesn't want to be there. Like, what have I done?
I mean, and then what do you got to do? You got to kill your kid? Like, how are you going to take care of it? That's the worst part. Thinking about. It was an interesting movie for me to watch because I have two kids their ages. I have a little boy his age and a little girl her age. And would I do that for my daughter? Maybe. I think
he slipped on a banana peel by then, because so much weird shit has been happening.
Yeah.
It's not like he was normal, everything's cool, bam, she died, and then he made that decision, He's been having a breakdown up and, and that was like, because he's been trying, he's been trying to cope with the trauma that his wife has been having. He's been trying to go, well, this is, I take it that their marriage is actually falling apart, and he's trying to save the family.
Right.
And he knows that this, in his mind, is chance that he has to make, and he wants to live in the nice little country house and everything's fine, and it's breaking down, and he he's losing himself. And so I think it's a good storytelling there. I will criticize actually one other thing though, is the build up to the, what's his name, the student, the guy that the ghost.
Oh yeah, the guy in the hallway.
He's much better utilized than the first the original movie.
No, he was awesome, and I think he looked better too.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think they overdid it in this one because it's like
there were certain throwbacks that were too overdone, like the Achilles tendon getting sliced thing. I felt like like, oh, we know what's happened. No, it didn't. Oh, yeah, and you're waiting for it. But I wish that maybe that wasn't the answer. Maybe something else happened. You know, like anything else. I don't know.
Well, that's it. Like when Fred Gwynn gets it, that's shocking as shit. And because it's Fred, and you don't want to see that happen to Fred, and stuff.
When we changed the story so much at the point that she got hit and there was no Gage getting hit, I feel like at that point we could change everything.
Yeah. Well,
they did. They did change a lot.
And I loved it for that. Yeah. It's been very polarizing, though.
Yeah.
And people seem to either love it or hate it. And despite
my
criticisms, I did love it.
When I came out of the theater, I was lit up. I liked it a lot. As I sat with it since then, I've drifted into, I like it okay.
I think it's one of those movies where the flaws stand out more now that it's worn off.
I don't know why this is, and this is one of the reasons I don't watch a lot of new stuff, but I will watch the original Pet Sematary every year. I'll watch it whenever it's on, or if I just feel like putting it on while I'm working, whatever. It's familiar. I love it. It holds a spot for me. I don't know that I'll ever watch that movie again. Like, I'm not going to watch it on repeat. I definitely... I wouldn't go out of my way to put it on. And that's nothing against the film. I don't know why that is. I don't know if I've changed.
It's not a constant, though, because, we've talked about this before multiple times, where people, not you, but people in general balk at reboots and remakes. And they think that automatically spells mediocrity. But, like...
It doesn't.
Cronenberg's The Fly.
The Hills Have Eyes. Alexander Aja's... Hills Have Eyes. I watched that over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
You know, The Thing. It's not because it's a reboot. It's just the feel of that movie. I don't know that I would watch it again. I said the same thing when I saw the new It as I came out of the theater. But then I have watched it again. And every time I watch it, I like it more.
Oh, okay.
So I'm excited for the next installment of it because it got me kind of like how things used to get people on home video. Like, it got me because it was available on streaming and I would hit play at night and realize this is actually pretty fun.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe when this movie comes out, the problem is this isn't a fun movie. Like there's nothing fun in this movie.
Yeah, I understand
You know?
that. I think with like it, and I could be wrong because I'm not you, but I think what ends up happening is when you have those preconceived notions or you have the certain charms that you love about the original, and then you are asked to love something different because
it's the same.
Yeah. And then it won't have those charms. So you're fighting an uphill battle and it doesn't have this. So now you're being asked if you're going to like this movie and appreciate it on its own merits. What are you going to find in that?
Right.
And you can only do that over time.
And people like me, I hate being told what to do. So telling me to like something because it's called something that Pet Sematary, right out the gate, I was like, no way. I'm not watching it. I don't like it. I don't love it. But then I watched it. It was a pretty decent movie. It was good.
All things considered, even if it falls down the totem pole even further, you still liked it more than you expected.
And I had a
so.
great time with my friends, and that's what counted. We all went out. We had a blast. I can't remember the last time I went to the movies with some dudes, and it was a good time. And we actually saw a couple movies, and we followed it up with Shazam, which was a tough follow, but a perfect chaser because it was such a dark, dreary movie to see Pet Sematary and that end scene and everything. You know, you're all like, wow, this is pretty. This is a Romero ending. I mean, they're all fucked up. And but then we go and we watch Shazam, which is just a freaking fun movie.
I'm glad to hear
so
that. You know, I talk about it.
Fun, colorful, and oh my god!
But what I gotta
I felt
say,
like I lived
this
in a
is
comic
pertinent
book.
on this is that I loved. It felt like a throwback movie because despite how family friendly it wasn't afraid to scare the little kid.
No, yeah, and punch people and whatever.
Well, I mean, those monsters. I mean, if you're a little kid, those monsters are scary.
Yeah.
You know.
No, it was great. But going back to Pet Sematary, I needed that little bit of a chaser afterwards. So either in my older age with children of my own, I don't get off on that dreariness as much, or it's just different now than it was then. And I think that's kind of... I miss film. I miss practical effects, clearly. There was a lot in this movie that were really nice.
Yes.
Zelda's feet looked awesome. Her feet look so good.
I like Zelda, period.
I didn't love the back. I
No?
felt it was...
Overdone?
It was underdone. It was there wasn't enough texture on her back. It was very shiny. I felt like we could have had way more contour. And man, that Zelda makeup in the original Pet Sematary is horrifying. And it is straight foam latex.
I
It's
have a
beautiful.
hard time with it because I always see the man. Because he's a man. It's a man playing Zelda.
I don't.
And that's always a stumbling block for me because I couldn't get past that it was a guy.
It's
playing a
crazy.
woman. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Which is funny because
That's
I've
interesting.
seen plenty of men play, but for whatever reason I couldn't get.
In
past
one of the
that.
first films I ever worked on, it was called Joshua. It was a Fangoria release. The end baddie is this girl named Annie, and she's a monster that's very similar to Zelda. Castle Freak meets Zelda, and I casted a very skinny guy, to do the makeup on because of the Zelda makeup being so effective to me. But the funny thing is that guy did not make it to Indiana where we shot, so it ended up getting applied to a girl named Molly who was the costume designer on the project, and it went over really well. I mean, I'm not going to say it's my best work. It was some of my earliest work, but it's still one of my favorite characters I ever did. But it was designed on a dude, put on a girl, and it's just, I always wanted it to look like that Zelda meets Castle Freak look. So, I mean, Pet Sematary, the original was, in makeup effects, was a really a strong thing for me as a kid, because it scared the pants off me.
So the Fred Gwynn death, I think in particular, is horrible. I mean,
It was brutal.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, they go over the top on that Achilles thing here, and it's not as effective.
It's just not the same. It's not the same.
But also that cut in Freddy Gwynn, that cut across the mouth.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I've seen people do that with the
Ichi the Killer type thing. Yeah.
And then Gage biting out his throat. It's just that.
No,
nothing compares to that as far as.
That's the thing. I feel like I don't want to be that old guy that's like, it's the CGI and the loud noises that, I mean, but that movie was so loud. Like, the whole time I was in there, I was like, it makes it hard for me to focus when it's so overly atmospheric like that. So I am kind of curmudgeon-y a little bit, but I totally enjoyed the movie. Totally had a good time with my buds.
You didn't think you were going to.
And I had no intention on seeing that movie. It's only ever happened one other time. I had absolutely no intention in seeing that Hills Have Eyes remake. And then I got offered, like, preview passes. And I was like, fine, we'll go see it. We'll talk smack about it. And put it on the internet. And within the first 10 minutes, I turned to my wife and I said, this is my favorite movie I've ever seen.
It was phenomenal.
It was
that is
so
a phenomenal
good.
movie.
And the makeups are incredible. And they're all foam latex and wonderful. And, I mean, that's what I love. So, this Pet Cemetery, I would give it on the Hypno scale.
We're not doing Hypnos for this, remember? It's stars.
Well, only if I didn't see it.
What?
That was what I said. I said, yeah, I didn't see it.
Okay.
So let's come up with a new one. We'll call it, how about shovels?
Shovels?
Yeah, like shovel.
I know what a shovel is.
Yeah. Shovels are pickaxes? How about pickaxes? I'm going to give this 3.5 to 4 pickaxes.
3.5 to 4?
Yeah, let's stick with 3.5. 3.5 pickaxes.
I'm gonna give it 3.5 as well.
Okay, all right, good. See, we think the same way sometimes. So, I think that wraps it up for this show, for episode 3.
Nobody's gonna try and kill me.
Oh man, we gotta kill you still. Yeah.
Try to kill me.
Oh, sorry.
Try to kill me.
We're definitely gonna try to kill you. And so let's give.
What do you think? I'm just gonna roll over and die?
We're gonna give the board a spin. What do you know? The Zuni fetish doll from Trilogy of Terror.
Yeah. Well, you probably had it right. I'm not fucking. I know you was fucking give me shit, but it's like, what I mean. How do you get away from that thing? You can't. You look at it. You're terrified. You die. And I still got the minority thing going against me. You know, I am part non-minority, so maybe that's the part of me that lives. All right, Zuni fetish doll killed Jeff as Jeff. I thought we were supposed to do it if you got away too. That's the first week I remember. Like, oh yeah, could you get it? How would you? You're like, I'm fucking Tom Devlin.
Yeah.
I'm fucking Tom Devlin. They ain't gonna be able to kill me.
I'm in charge of the Zuni fetish doll. So here's the thing. We're gonna wrap this show up. That's gonna die, just like Jeff. So I'm going to wrap this show up, and I'm Tom Devlin. This is Jeff, our producer, Waleed Atshi. He pulls it together and puts it up on the networks for us so we can all, enjoy. So without him, we'd be nothing. We'd just be two dudes sitting in a monster museum talking to each other and be lost in the wind. So with that, nighttime is the fright time. I'm Tom. This is Jeff. And...